Hello everyone, today we are going to talk about the income tax return, depending on the individual circumstances. Now first, in order for us to start today's topic, let us first know what is the income tax return. A tax return is a form or forms filed with a tax authority that reports income, expenses, and other pertinent tax information. Tax returns allow taxpayers to calculate their tax liability, schedule tax payments, or request refunds for the overpayment of taxes. In most countries, tax returns must be filed annually for an individual or business with reportable income, including wages, interest, dividends, capital gains, or other profits. Now that we've already known what is the income tax return, now let us move on to our topic, which is the income tax return forms. Now the first form we are going to talk about is the BIR form number 1700, or the annual income tax return for individuals earning purely compensation income, including non-business or non-profession related income. This return shall be filed by every resident citizen deriving compensation income from all sources, or resident alien and non-resident citizen with respect to compensation income from within the Philippines, except the following. First is an individual whose taxable income does not exceed 250,000 pesos. Next is an individual with respect to pure compensation income, as defined in Section 32A1, derived from sources within the Philippines. The income tax on which has been correctly withheld, tax due equals tax withheld, under the provisions of Section 79 of the Code provided that an individual deriving compensation concurrently from two or more employers at any time during the taxable year shall file an income tax return. Next is an individual whose sole income has been subjected to final withholding tax pursuant to Section 57A of the Tax Code. And last is a minimum wage earner as defined in Section 22HH the Tax Code, or an individual who is exempt from income tax pursuant to the provisions of the Tax Code and other laws, general or special. Filing date of this form is that this return is filed on or before April 15 of each year covering income for the preceding taxable year. Now that we are done with the BIR form number 1700, now let us move on to the next form, which is the BIR form number 1701, or the annual income tax return for individuals, including mixed income earner, estates, and trusts. BIR form number 1701 shall be filed by individuals who are engaged in trade or business, or the practice of profession, including those with mixed income, those engaged in trade, business, or profession who are also earning compensation income. In accordance with Section 51 of the Code, as amended, the annual income tax return summarizes all the transactions covering the calendar year of the taxpayer. This return shall be filed by the following individuals regardless of amount of gross income. First is a resident citizen engaged in trade, business, or practice of profession within and without the Philippines. A resident alien, non-resident citizen, or non-resident alien individual engaged in trade, business, or practice of profession within the Philippines. Next is a trustee of a trust, guardian of a minor, executor or administrator of an estate, or any person acting in any fiduciary capacity for any person, where such trust, estate, minor, or person is engaged in trade or business. Lastly is an individual engaged in trade or business or in the exercise of their profession and receiving compensation income as well. The filing date of BIR form number 1701 is that this return is filed on or before April 15 of each year covering income for the preceding taxable year. Now that we are done with this form, let us move on to the next form, which is the BIR form number 1702/EX, or the annual income tax return for corporation, partnership, and other non-individual taxpayer exempt under the tax code as amended, Section 30 and those exempted in Section 27C, and other special laws with no other taxable income. This return shall be filed by a corporation, partnership, and other non-individual taxpayer exempt under the tax code as amended by Section 30 and other those exempted in Section 27C, and other special laws with no other taxable income, such as but not limited to foundations, cooperatives, charitable institutions, non-stock and non-profit education institutions, general professional partnership, or GPP, and etc. The filing date of this form is that this return is filed on or before the 15th day of the fourth month following the close of the taxpayer's taxable year. Now we are done with this form. Let us move on to the next form, which is the BIR form number 1702MX, or the annual income tax return for corporation, partnership, and other non-individual with mixed income subject to multiple income tax rates, or with income subject to special or preferential rate. This return shall be filed by every corporation, partnership, and other non-individual taxpayer with mixed income subject to multiple income tax rates, or with income subject to special or preferential rates. Now, the filing date of this form is that this return is filed with or without payment on or before the 15th day of the fourth month following the close of the taxpayer's taxable year. Now that we are done with this form, now let us move on to what I think is the last form of the day, which is the BIR form number 2316, or Certificate of Compensation Payment, or tax withheld for compensation payment with or without tax withheld. A certificate to be accomplished and issued to each employee receiving salaries, wages, and other forms or remuneration by each employer, indicating therein the total amount paid in the taxes withheld therefrom during the calendar year. This certificate in turn should be attached to the annual income tax return, BIR Form 1700, for individuals receiving purely compensation income, or BIR Form 1701, for individuals with mixed income. The filing date of this form is that this is to be issued to payee on or before January 31 of the succeeding year in which the compensation was paid, or in cases where there is termination of employment. It is issued on the same day the last payment of wages is made. As what I have said earlier, this is the last form that we are going to talk about, and that means that we are done with today's topic. I hope that all of you understood just what I said, even if it's just for a little bit. And thank you for tuning in. See ya!